Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's tourism lesson. My name is Evans Maponya. This lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. In an event that you have any queries regarding this lesson, please WhatsApp your queries on this number 079 578 2908. Let me quickly repeat the number. The WhatsApp number for any questions regarding our discussion today should be sent to 079 578 2908. Our topic today arises from domestic, regional, and international tourism. And our subtopic would be different forms of payment when traveling internationally. Let's see how it unfolds. Where this lesson will be assessed, it forms section E of your final or November question paper, and it forms part of question 9 and also assessed in question 1, that is your section A. You'll also come across questions based on this topic in a controlled test, skills assessment test, the PET, as well as the prelim and the final examination. Be reminded that most of the tasks have been covered already for this year in the form of a control test, skills assessment task, the PET. We are only waiting to complete a data handling task as well as the prelim examination to complete our SBA task. And finally, you'll be expected to sit for the final examination, and where this question will be, where this topic will be assessed in your section E, question number 9. As we move on, let's now look at the lesson objectives. By the end of this lesson, you as grade 12 learners must be able to know the following. These are your forms of payments. The first one would be, you should be in a position to know and understand an electronic fund transfer and how it works. You also required to have a better knowledge and understanding of telegraphic transfer, known as SWIFT transfer. We'll elaborate much on this when we get to discuss these forms of payment one by one. You need to also gather some understanding around the bank draft. You need to also understand internet payment and how it works, as well as different method forms that it revolves around internet payment. You also have to know and understand foreign banknotes as a form of payment when you travel abroad or international. You have to also know and understand credit cards, and there are different forms issued by different major banking groups in the country and all over the world. You are also expected to have some information or some knowledge regarding this form of payment, which is a preloaded foreign currency, debit cards such as the cash passport card, the travel wallet, and the international travel card. And lastly, you are expected to examine the advantages and the disadvantage surrounding all these 7 forms of payment which we are going to learn today. These are your objectives. And remember, over some time, I have indicated that the objectives of a lesson are very crucial for you to do well in the examination, in the assessment regarding each topic that you have learned this year. Because most of the examiners, when they set questions, they look at the objectives. So make it a point that you don't miss any of the objectives of this lesson that are indicated here. As we move forward, we are going to look at what forms of payment entails. So in explaining this concept, we would say there are various or several methods tourists can use to pay for goods and services when traveling in a foreign country. They are not saying only one method, it's relevant, but there are various methods. And if you get back to our objectives, 7 methods or 7 forms of payments have been identified. So each of the methods, depending on the preference of the tourist, may be used by tourists or travelers when they are or they find themselves in a foreign country. Each method of payment has its advantages and disadvantages, and tourists need to research before deciding which method is best suited to them or it is relevant for them or applicable to them. Now, let's look at the 7 methods of payment that we have alluded to in the beginning, starting with the electronic fund transfer, better known as the EFT. So EFT, you should know from today, it stands for electronic fund transfer. And EFT is the electronic exchange or transfer of money or of funds from one account to another. So it has to do with movement of money or of cash from one account to another account. So 2 different accounts are being involved here. The account of the sender and the account of the recipient of the money. So the sender will instruct his bank or his financial institution to pay a certain amount of money to the recipient. That is the transfer of money from one account to another. This happens within either a single financial institution or across multiple institutions through computer-based system. What does this entail? It means that you can, if you are a Standard Bank user, you can use this method of payment to pay funds from Standard Bank to a Standard Bank, another Standard Bank account holder. Or it also applies in an event where the sender will use a different bank from that of the receiver. So I can be using Standard Bank and the person whom I would like to send cash to is using FNB. That is also possible with electronic fund transfer. So hence we are told that it happens within a single financial institution, and it can also be applied across different or multiple financial institution through a computer-based system. So to perform such a transaction, to perform such a transfer, you'll need to use a computer. Not only a computer, but it has to be connected to an internet, hence electronic, meaning that you need to have a gadget like a laptop or a desktop or a cell phone that has access to the internet. So it's a computer-based system that is used to transfer funds from one institution to another. It may be institutions of the same kind or two different institutions. So this transaction allows such to happen. Let's assess the advantages and the disadvantages of using. First, we are going to start with the advantages of using this method of payment, which is EFT. It is a safe and secure method of payment. It is reliable. It is safe. And with this kind of transfer, with this kind of sending money, you just instruct your bank. You don't ask your bank, you give an instruction to your bank to transfer money to a beneficiary account. That is the account of the person whom you are sending money to. So you tell your bank, pay Mr. So and so. I want to pay Thomas in Limpopo this amount of money, and the bank does or follows your instruction. It sends Thomas the money that you have instructed the bank to pay. No, not much and not less. Now, another advantage is it is efficient and fast. You can do EFT from home. You don't need to go to the bank or to get to the bank to perform such a transaction. You do it at the comfort of your home. So you do it wherever you want to do it, as long as you have the necessary tools to perform such a transaction. I'm saying you can do it at the comfort of your home, suggesting that you don't need to drive to the bank or get an Uber to the bank to perform such a transaction. You do it anywhere convenient for you, as long as there is internet connectivity, or you have the required data to perform such a transaction. One of the advantages, it saves time, meaning that it is one of the most convenient methods to be used to transfer money from your account to the beneficiary. So there is no need to use your bank card, your credit card, or provide your credit card or bank card information online. You don't have to provide such information online. It is also less expensive than paper check payments and collections, where you would have to pay the recipient using a check and go and collect the good or the service. So you can make a transactions, as we indicated, at the comfort of your place. Money can be transferred throughout the world. It is not governed by political boundaries. You can send someone while in South Africa and the recipient is in Botswana, the very money using this electronic fund transfer method. These are the advantages of using this kind of method to process payment from the account holder to the recipient. Electronic transfer fund, here let's examine the disadvantages. The disadvantage is that it is susceptible to online security, or online security is a concern, and this security is referred to as phishing. The phishing refers to a fraudulent activity that people will get into your account details and steal money. It's an online kind of stealing money from the user account to their own account. They hijack your money before it reaches its destination. This is one of the concerns regarding the use of electronic transfer. Right. To be safe with this, it means you should always log off after using this kind of payment so that the hackers cannot be able to get into your personal information, that is your account number, your password, and so forth. So after every use, ensure that you log out. One other disadvantage is this daunting process of pre-registering the process with your bank for internet banking or telephone banking. So all these processes, you cannot do them on your own. You have to visit the branch and let them open an internet portal for you to be able to perform a transaction related to EFT. It also requires a reliable internet connection, which it says it's essential for electronic payments. So people in remote areas where there is not sufficient network coverage suffer the most because they cannot freely perform this kind of transaction. So it's another disadvantage. You should try and avoid to use the public computer for doing internet payments. So this kind of payments, you need to use your own personal gadget. Don't go to the nearby internet cafe to do transaction related to this kind of payment. So strictly, you need to do it with your own gadget. That's the advice. So it's a disadvantage if you don't have enough data or internet connection, so you don't have to rely on third parties to perform this kind of transaction. You need to have the necessary tools to do such a transaction, as it is not safe to use a public internet portal because in an event where you forget to log out, the next user can have access to your account information and you lose a lot of money. Right. These are our disadvantages of using this kind of payment. We have assessed the advantages and the disadvantages of using EFT. It is not 100% safe, but you can eliminate some of the mishap that can happen to you, to your account or to your funds inside that account by strictly using your own and avoiding the public internet stores or cafes. As we proceed with disadvantages, another disadvantage which is important is that funds will only show on a beneficiary account if the transaction is done before a specific time of the day. So in other cases, transactions that are performed, say, by 1500 hours, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, may not reflect immediately. Otherwise, it will only show the next day or can even take more than expected for the funds to reflect. A transaction made on weekends and holidays also is an issue because they cannot be processed immediately in some instance unless if the person you are sending the money to use the same bank as you. Also, funds might be transferred to or from a person's account on the incorrect date. So you have to be careful when you make such transfer, not to post-date the funds. Post-dating funds, meaning that if you make such a transaction, be careful to go to the calendar and select the date which you want the money to reflect in the recipient's account. Otherwise, you'll use the default setting of that computer, meaning that if it post-date the date, it means, say today is the 7th, and the default says the 15th. So payment will be made on the 15th, and that could be one of the disadvantages if you are not competent in the use of IT or computers. It may be difficult to cancel an EFT transaction, meaning that once you make a transaction, you need to double check if you have entered the correct figure, if you have entered the correct account details before you accept or you authorize that kind of payment. So these are the disadvantages of using electronic fund transfer. Let's now examine the next method of payment, which is a telegraphic transfer, also known as the SWIFT payment, or in some other places, it's referred to as wire transfer. So we often hear of people saying, I will wire you some $100, meaning that they will use this kind of method to transfer money to you. SWIFT, the acronym, stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. Interbank suggests that this group of banks work interdependently to process certain transaction. They are not working independently, but they interdepend on one another, meaning that you can make this transfer to other financial institutions so that the other person can receive the money on the other end. The SWIFT provides a network that enables financial institutions worldwide to send and receive information about financial transactions in a secure, standardized, and reliable environment. So they create a platform for people to transact internationally or around or across the globe using this kind of method, which is referred to be standardized and very reliable. SWIFT also markets software and services to financial institutions. Much of it use the SWIFT network and ISO 9362, as well as the BIC. The BIC standing for Bank Identification Code or Bank Identifier Codes, whereas ISO, another network known as ISO, which stands for International Standards for Organizations. So it's international standards for organization. And the organizations that we are referred to here are the banks. So the banks uses the ISO to process payments made on the SWIFT platform. Here are examples of the SWIFT or wire transfer. The first one is the Western Union. It is said to be fast, reliable, worldwide money transfer, and it is used in the Western Arizona and the Western Union in the Bahamas, that is the United States of America. You can walk into the Western Union of Arizona, for example, and send US dollars to the Western Union in the Bahamas simply by paying the Arizona office the cash plus any fee that is charged. And your friend on the other side, that is the Bahamas, can go to the Western Union to receive the 100 US dollars in cash within minutes. The money is transferred electronically. Local payment system like the ShopRite money transfer work just like the Western Union. The cash send that you usually perform at the money market in any ShopRite works exactly the same as this Western Union. Let us look at the advantages of using SWIFT as a method of payment. It becomes handy when the traveler does not access to a bank account. So people who do not have bank accounts resort to this kind of method, and it works wonders for them. It is much more secure and desirable or preferred than any other form of payment. Also, it can save paper by reducing the need for checks and deposit slips, making them more environmentally friendly than standard forms of banking. So it is aligned to environmental friendliness because it reduces the use of paperwork that is needed, and after being punched into the computer is thrown all over. So it is environmental friendly as one of the advantages. The SWIFT method of payment, as we assess the disadvantages, is that charges can be high. So like at ShopRite, you would pay an amount of 10 Rand to send the money. So instead of giving away 100 Rand, now you have to pay an extra charge of 10 Rand. So that is one advantage. And then hackers can gain access to your account when transacting online. So when you perform this kind of method online, hackers can attack you, and the intended recipient may not receive the money. The seller can provide false information to the sender because you are giving your information for the sender to receive on the other end. So the recipient may receive inaccurate information on the other side, which is a disadvantage, meaning it will inconvenience you to correct such a mess. A cash can be collected under a false ID. So if the hackers that we have alluded for get the withdrawal number, so they can simply use their ID. They call it the M number. If they can get hold of that M number, they can quickly go and withdraw the funds before the recipient go to claim such an amount. Law enforcement is also a concern, or it's also concerned about subversive organization using the anonymous method to wire transfer to illegal activities. So it is very difficult for law enforcement, for police departments to trace this kind of money. Why? What is it paid for? What is the reason for the transaction? So it may be used to pay for illegal activities. Those were the disadvantages of using the SWIFT method or the wire method of paying for transaction or transferring money to the people of your own, or people that whoever you want to pay for. The next one, bank draft. This refers to a type of check where the payment is guaranteed to be available by the issuing bank. This kind of check, you get to the bank, they give whosoever you want to pay a guarantee that you have the available funds in your account. It's not like the normal checkbook that it's given to a client where you pay for transaction. Grade 12 learners, please just bear in mind that this kind of payment is no longer used in South Africa. As of the 31st of December 2020, South Africa discontinued the use of a bank draft or any other form of a check. So in South Africa, this method of payments are no longer in use and are regarded irrelevant. Typically, banks will review the bank draft requester account to see if there is sufficient money available for the check to clear. So they will give whoever you want to pay, like the car dealers relied much on this kind of payment. Before you can buy a car, they would prefer you to give them a guarantee for a deposit, a guarantee that you'll be able to pay the required amount of money. And this was a method that they rely on because if stolen, it can be quickly intercepted and the bank can close or suspend your account before cashing out on your money. Once it has been confirmed that sufficient funds are available in your account, the bank effectively sets aside the fund from the person's account to be given out when the bank draft is used. So this suggests that when you make a request for a bank draft, the bank will take the amount equal to your requested amount, remove it from your account, and leave it hanging somewhere until the owner of the check comes to claim, or the person who should receive money come and claim. Say, for instance, you have 20,000 in the bank, and you want, you request a draft of 5,000, a bank draft of 5,000. They will take 5,000 out of your account and remove it from your account, leave it hanging somewhere, and your remaining balance will be 15,000. And as soon as this kind of check is presented, then they will pay, they will release the bank or the 5,000 that was set aside to the person who will be claiming that kind of money. That's how a bank draft works. Let's look at the advantages of using a bank draft. It is a cheaper, however, also slower method of sending money. It is one of the cheapest ways of sending money, but it takes time. So an advantage and a disadvantage have been juxtaposed here. Whilst it is cheaper, it is also, as an advantage, a very slowest method of processing payments when traveling internationally. It has the backing by the issuing bank. So the issuing bank, by issuing such a check, confirms that there are sufficient funds in the account. So the bank confirms, gives an assurance that the person who is paying or who is processing payment using this kind of this method of payment, that is a bank draft, has adequate funds in his or her account. It is better than a personal check. That is one advantage. With a personal check, you are presented with a checkbook, but the bank does not give assurance that the personal check user has adequate funds. So I might write a check for you only to find out when you want to cash it with the banks, then the check bounces. It's rejected by the bank. So the bank draft works out better than a personal check, because a person can write you a check knowing exactly that he or she does not have enough funds in the bank just to let it go, and only to find that the check will be rejected by the bank. It can be made out to pay a named account to give its absolute security. So by indicating the name of the recipient makes it more secure, makes it more safer to use. Right. Grade 12 learners, I must keep on reminding you that this method of payment is no longer in use in South Africa. In South Africa, we no longer use the bank draft or any other form of a check. Let's look at the disadvantages of using a bank draft. Bank fees and charges are very, or can be very high. They are exorbitant when using this kind of payment. That in itself becomes a disadvantage. Bank drafts need to be physically sent by mail or a courier so that they may take a few weeks to reach the recipient. So it's either this kind of payment is presented personally by the person who wants to make a payment, or it can be mailed by post or by a courier, and which takes some time to reach the recipient. So it is time consuming. It is not time efficient. So it reaches the recipient after some time. The recipient cannot cash the draft unless he has a bank account in which to deposit it. Here is one advantage. They will not give you cash for presenting a bank draft. Then the funds needs to be channeled into a banking account. So the recipient must obviously, or needs to have, a banking account, which is one of the disadvantages. I want us to move on to the next method of payment, which is an internet form of payment. Internet payments describe any online payment on the internet, including the one that we have started with, that is the EFT. We said to process an EFT transaction, you need to have connectivity. You need to use a device that is connected to the internet. Now, but this further explains this kind of payment, further separate it from a normal EFT, because there are platforms that we can use to process an internet kind of payment. And internet payments describe any online payment. We have already dealt with one example. An internet payment system refers to the various methods by which individuals and companies, including tourism businesses, are doing business online to collect money from their customers in exchange for their goods and services they provide. Right, here are examples indicated here. So you have the PayPal as one of the methods that can be used to transact between the service provider and the client. So most of the service provider will use this method, or will subscribe to PayPal as a method of payment wherein clients can log into their business details to process this kind of payment. Another example here is the EFT that we have alluded to, and it's reflected. Most of the bank use this kind of internet payment. As you can see indicated on this card, you have ABSA, you have First National Bank, you have the Nedbank and Standard Bank. So these financial institutions that we have in South Africa also allow users, allow account holders to do internet form of payments. Other than that, you can resort to methods like PayPal, which companies or business subscribe to as to help them in the process of internet forms of payment. Let's look at the advantages of using this method. You don't need to carry cash always. It saves time. No need to go to the retail shop, as you can shop online. You can also send money online to your family or friends using the internet payment option. Internet payments enables you to transfer money anywhere around the world. So you can send money even if the recipient is miles away from your own country. You can send a friend in London using this kind of payment, that is the internet payment. Travelers often use this payment method when paying deposits for overseas accommodation. Less commission charges for online transfer. So it is cost effective. You don't have so many charges when you perform an internet kind of payment. One other advantages, or more of the advantages, are that you don't need to carry cash always. So it's a cashless form of payment. You don't have to carry physical cash. It saves time. No need to go to the retail shop when you perform this transaction. And we have indicated that less commission charges is not one of the attributes of this kind of payment. The disadvantage of using internet payment is that security is a major concern. We have alluded to phishing when we're looking at EFT. So fraudulent activities are one of the characteristics of using an internet payment. While selecting a company, you should choose a company that is secured, fast, and technologically skilled in handling deceit, in handling wrong information or fraudulent kind of information. So the company should be competent in matters of IT to operate such transaction. So it takes a lot of secure methods that are required, and also you should also check if the company or if the business is reputable in handling such internet transaction. Some online transfer companies have access to only some countries. Reliable internet connection is essential for internet payment. I think we have repeated this more than once. You should try and avoid the use of public computer for doing these internet payments. So grade 12 learners, there is a thin line that separates the EFT payments as well as the internet payments. Grade 12 learners, I want us to take a 5 minutes break, and when we come back, we'll proceed with our discussion. Can we stop temporarily here, and we'll further engage on other methods of payments when traveling internationally. Welcome back, grade 12 learners. Remember to send your questions in case you did not grab some of the concepts explained here by using the WhatsApp number, which I'm going to call out now. That is 079 578 2908. That's where you can have your questions further responded or engaged with. Grade 12 learners, we've looked at various methods of payment that applies internationally, that are acceptable when you travel internationally. We have discussed the EFT method. We've looked into a bank draft. We also looked into the SWIFT method, that is the wire method, as well as the internet payment, which is closely linked to the EFT, or from which the EFT becomes a category. Let's move forward and assess the disadvantage of this method of payment, or rather the disadvantage. I think we have covered these ones before the break. Now, the next method of payment is a foreign bank note or foreign bank cash. This refers to cash that is the most essential method of paying money abroad. So it is the cash that you'd want to use for your needs and wants when you travel abroad. So it has nothing to do with the electronic devices, or rather it is represented by a bank draft or any other form of a check. So this is the ordinary cash that we use. Even if you don't choose this as a primary method of expenditure when you are abroad, make sure that you have some cash on you. So it is essential for you to have cash on you, because not every business use the EFT method or has a speed point to process the payment. So you need a little bit of cash in your pockets when you travel abroad, because of those small businesses in particular that cannot process amounts within or from your banking institution immediately. This way, it says you'll have some cash to spend in places that do not accept cash, as I've indicated, and just use cards in the places that do accept them. So this is one tip of advice, that even if you have cash, but in an event that the business where you want to purchase goods and services can accept cards or any other form of payment, accept cash, please save your cash and use that method, which does not involve cash, especially when you are abroad, so that you may not run out of the cash. Save your cash and use other methods. The foreign bank notes or the cash, as we assess the advantages, cash is easy to exchange. You give me 50 Rand for a commodity costing 30 Rand, I give back your 30 Rand. So it is one of the simplest methods of paying for transaction, especially physical transactions. It can be used widely. All places accept cash without any qualms, without any worries, without any quarrels. So any place would accept cash. It is possible for you to get cash from your home country itself. Say maybe I'm visiting the United States of America, I can go to any of the exchange bureaus, the exchange banks within my country before I travel and ask for foreign or buy foreign currency before I depart, before I leave to a foreign country. So it is easily accessible. There is absolutely no extra charge for making transactions with the help of cash. So if an item is charged 20 Rand, you are going to pay 20 Rand and nothing more. But if you use your card for a 20 Rand commodity, you might be charged certain amount by your bank. That's what makes the difference between cash transactions and other forms of transactions that we have added to. The disadvantage, the cash is prone to be stolen. It can be easily stolen. And stolen cash cannot be traced. So if you lose it, it is pretty much gone for good. So stolen cash is irreplaceable. You cannot replace it. Once stolen, it's gone for good. Cash would have to be exchanged to be used in a foreign country, which means that it will be affected by fluctuations in the exchange rate. So you can exchange cash today only to find that the following day the local currency depreciates, the foreign currency drops, meaning that you could have got more cash if you exchange the following day. But now that you have made a transaction a day in advance, then you are affected by this fluctuation, this rise and fall of foreign currency. Also, it's a problem if it doesn't, if it is not favorable to you as a traveler. Another method of payment that I want us to look at are credit cards, which comes in the form of a Visa, a MasterCard, an American Express, and Diners Club card. Those are different forms of credit card available for users. This kind of a card is issued by a financial company, giving the holder an option to borrow funds, usually at the point of sale. What it means is that you use the card and pay afterward. So if I don't have money in my banking account, I can resort to using a credit card, which affords me an opportunity when I am at the till point, at the store, and interested in a commodity or a product, I can buy using the credit card and pay later. Now, as we further explore our credit cards charge interest and are primarily used for short-term financing. So the purpose of credit card is to take you off the hook when you are not having enough funds at your disposal. That's when you can use a credit card. You only use it when you don't have money, because this is a kind of loan which you access when you pay goods and services, especially when you don't have money available. So it's a short-term kind of loan, and with a loan, you are charged interest. Loans does not come to us freely. You have to pay or to compensate the loaner a certain amount of money. Interest usually begins 1 month after a purchase is made, and borrowing limits are preset according to the individual credit rating. So the money that is available in your credit card depends on your affordability checks that the banks will have to do before issuing such a card. So they will give you a certain limit, whilst others enjoy more credit limit. Some gets lesser credit limits because of the credit assessment that the banks usually perform. The examples, as I've already mentioned there in the header, it's a Visa, a MasterCard, Diners Club, and American Express. Example, Visas and MasterCard cards are issued by your ordinary banks, the 4 major banks in South Africa, and other banks that are operating within the country, like Capitec does have a credit card. Apart from your ABSA, your Standard Bank, your FNB, and your Nedbank, banks such as Discovery does, the Bidvest also does offer such a credit facility. So these are the pictures. This one indicates the American Express. This is an example of a Diners Club credit card, and these are the ordinary credit card that we normally make use of. Now let's look at the advantages of using a credit card. Cards can be used to buy expensive items because say maybe you get into a shop and you always wanted a refrigerator. Now it's on special. Instead of paying 30,000, it's brought down to 20,000. So with that 10% discount, you can quickly use money available in your credit card to buy this fridge at a cheaper offer. So yes, it is used for such emergencies when you pop into a shop and you get that the items that you always wanted are now cheaper, and at that time you don't have cash, you can use this, and you can also use it to buy expensive items. The debt can be paid off over time, so you indicate the number of months that you can return the cash, and the lesser the period of payment, the lesser the interest that normally banks charges. They avoid having to carry large amounts of cash. So if an item is 20,000 bucks, you don't need to carry along such a whole lot of notes with you. just the card can do wonders for you, can process such payment easily for you. Most businesses accept credit card as a form of payment. So many of the businesses, especially the tourism businesses or the where tourists usually want to buy services internationally, accept this form of payment. The disadvantage of using all these credit cards that we have alluded to is that some businesses do not accept credit cards. Some of the small businesses, their accounts are not linked to processing such kind of payment, so it becomes a disadvantage. It is easy to overspend and incur the debt. So it is easy for you to spend a lot of money, not realizing that you are plunging yourself deeper into debt. You are putting yourself into a big debt. So swiping every time can make one irresponsible, not to check the amount of debt that one will have to pay at the end. Because normally statements will not be processed immediately. So if you have a large amount of money into your credit card, that could be a problem for the user, because normally they find themselves in big debt, not managing their debts well. The transaction costs are charged every time you use the card. So every time you use the credit card, you are charged a certain fee or a certain percentage that goes along with the payment. Illegal copying of information from the magnetic strip of a card may give criminal access to an account scheming. So your card can be duplicated quite easily as long as some people can make a copy of information on the magnetic strip. That is that black line that appears in your card has certain credentials that can be copied, and a duplicate card can be made, putting you into further and more debt, keeping you very prone to illegal or fraudulent criminals out there. The interest rates are high, so the interest rates are normally above the normal interest rates that are charged. Normally the banks will charge between 8 and 13%, but with the credit card, you may find yourself paying 25 or 28% of interest charges. As soon as the card is lost or stolen, it must be reported so that it can be blocked. So if not reported on time, you may find that all the money in the credit card is wiped off, and you'll be expected to pay back the issuing bank. Delaying this can cause fraudsters to transact on your card. Remember, with your credit card, you just swipe, and at most, you are not even asked to pin in your code. So that could create a lot of problem if or once it falls into wrong hands. So that can leave you in serious debts, which will have to pay the financial institution. Grade 12 learners, the last form of payment is the preloaded foreign currency debit card. So this kind of payment is also acceptable or it's also recommended when you travel abroad, preloaded foreign currency debit cards such as the cash passport, the travel wallet, the international travel card are just but examples of preloaded foreign currency debit cards. These cards are issued by all major banks, are preloaded with foreign currency before tourist travel, and are also known as cash passport. So this is another name of preloaded foreign currency. Travel cards are basically prepaid forex card. So instead of getting foreign currency, you have a card with loaded foreign currency of your country or of the country that you are intending to visit. Travel cards are basically prepaid forex cards. So foreign exchange has already happened once issued. So you don't have to go to bureaus for exchange, because that card can work in the country of your destination. These cards are available in banks, as we have explained. All you have to do is to go to your bank and ask for some foreign currency to go abroad, and they will provide you with such a card. It is an easy, weightless way to carry cash abroad. So it is one of the best recommended methods to carry cash abroad. That is the preloaded foreign currency debit card. It works like an ATM card itself, except that you will be spending and seeing your balance in foreign currency instead of domestic ones. Once applied for, as soon as you transact, so your balances or any information regarding the money inside that account will be shown in a foreign currency. And for example, if you are going to US, that is the United States, and you get a travel card, the balance will be shown in US dollars. The preloaded foreign currency debit cards, the advantages are as indicated here. The benefit is that it is really simple and one of the best way to carry money abroad. If you have used an ATM before, you will be able to use this card. So it works exactly the same as the ATM card that most of you have. Another benefit is the fact that you will be you'll get quite a decent exchange rate for your balance. Will not be dependent on any fluctuation that occur in the currency after you have deposited your money into the account. So it is not affected by those fluctuations. So if you have deposited $100, or if you have exchanged $100, what you will spend in that card would be $100. It is not affected by the rise and the fall or the decrease of the foreign currency. Some bank will allow you to link your savings account with the account with this for this account card, so that you can quickly transfer between the two. Here are the disadvantages. Travel cards are quite limited in their coverage, so they are not accepted in most places. You might be able to use it in the USA and the UK, but you may not be able to get to use it in countries like Kenya. If you are going on a Europe trip, carrying this card might become tricky, because you might not be able to use some of the in some of the countries. For instance, if you are going to Europe, say maybe France, France would make use of the euro, and you may not proceed to use that kind of card in the UK, because it is not within or it is not using the euro. Otherwise, you need to have two different cards, the one using the British pound and the one using the euro. So you cannot use this card in countries where a different currency is in use. So it is more specific to the country that you are visiting. There will be some charge on the amount of money you get credited in your accounts as well. So there will be also a charge depending on the amount of money that you have transacted. Now, let's look at how this topic is assessed. We have looked on all the 7 forms of currencies, or not currencies, I'm sorry, but the forms of payment that you can use when traveling abroad. So this it's just one of the scenarios in the form of speech bubbles. So as you can see, 1.5.1, should I log on to the travel start if I have to read it website to book and pay for my flight to London? So you can use a method of payment to book a flight. You can put it in the log on to travel start and pay for your flights to London. 1.52, it says perhaps I should rather let a travel agency handle my flight arrangement and transfer money into their account. And then 1.5.3 says, should I take taxi from Heathrow Airport, London, to my hotel? 1.5.4 says, will it be better option to rent a car at Heathrow Airport? And 1.5.5 says, I don't want to run into debt during 7-day trip to London. Now, here is the question. It says, identify the most appropriate form of payment that the traveler can make use of in each of the above situation for his trip to London. The instruction says, write only the question number, that is 1.5.1 to 1.5.5, and the form of payment in the answer book, for example, 1.5.6 telegraphic payment. Let's look at the answers. Here are they. 1.5.1, internet payment for your flight. You can use internet payment or a credit card or a debit card. 1.5.2, you can use an EFT or electronic funds. 1.5.3, when you take a taxi from Heathrow Airport to your hotel, you can use cash. 1.5.4, when you hire a car from the airport to your hotel, you can use a credit card. And 1.5.5, you may either use a preloaded foreign currency debit card or a cash passport or a travel wallet or an international travel card. So number 1.5.5 accommodates more than one because form of payment. Let's look into another activity. I have alluded to the fact that this is assessed in the national paper in question 9, that is your section E. It says, study the picture below and answer the questions that follow. There is the RIP. We know for a fact it stands for rest in peace. So 9.2.1, interpret the message in the picture above about the use of traveler's check. 9.2.2, give 2 forms of payment that have replaced the traveler's check during international travel. Right. In responding to this one, the RIP indicates that there is no longer a demand for traveler's check, leading to its withdrawal by trading dealers in South Africa. So because of the demand, the lesser demand of a traveler's check, it was discontinued in South Africa by most business operators or dealers. Traveler's checks are no longer used. That is one other explanation, and one of the two will give you 2 marks. 9.2.2, preloaded foreign currency debit cards is one of the methods that has replaced the traveler's check or the bank draft. So this method of payment has been replaced by almost all the methods that we have alluded to, and the question needed you to give only 2. That is the preloaded foreign currency debit cards, as well as the debit cards, the credit cards, the foreign currency, and MoneyGram, as well as SWIFT. So any 2 of the indicated here is suitable to replace a bank draft. Let's move on to activity 3. It says, study the example of a form of payment that is available to international travelers and answer the questions that follow. So, grade 12 learners, as you can see here, it's a Bidvest bank world currency card. So it's a preloaded form of debit card that you can use when you travel to Australia. Hence, it indicates the currency that is loaded into this debit card. So it says 9.3.1, give another term that is used to refer to a world currency card. 9.3.2, it says, explain why it would be to the advantage of an international traveler to choose the payment option in question 9.3.1 instead of a credit card, and that it's allocated 2 marks. Let's assess the answers. 9.3.1, another name for a preloaded credit card, traveler's card. It's also known as the cash passport or the travel wallet or the preloaded foreign currency. Any of the 3 will give you 2 marks. 9.3.2, the advantage, a traveler can only spend the amount loaded on the card and cannot run into debt, as it can happen when using a credit card. So this is the advantage of having the preloaded card. You don't fall into debt because you only use what you have in the card, and that is yours. And as opposed to the credit card, which can put you into into debt at any time. So that is the safety aspect. That is the safety advantage of using a preloaded credit card. Grade 12 learners, with all the explanations that we had on forms of payment traveling internationally, we have come to an end of our lesson. Please revise the 7 methods of payment when you are traveling internationally. And please be reminded that a traveler's check or a bank draft is no longer in use in South Africa. With that, grade 12 learners, let's preview what is up next. Coming next on this platform on the 14th of August at 14:30 to 16:30 to 1600 hours, we'll look into the conditions of employment, the purpose and value of the code of conduct. So stay glued to receiving the link and coming again on session on the 14th of August at 14:30 to 16 hours. And your topic, of course, is the conditions of employment, the purpose and value of code of conduct. That is our next reflection topic next week. With that, all of that, thank you, grade 12 learners. We have come to an end, and thank you for being such a wonderful audience on this channel. Thank you very much.